In today's video, I rebuild Manchester United after they got relegated. Yes, you heard that right. In this save, Manchester United got relegated. This save was sent in by a viewer who was managing Wrexham into 2026 and clocked that United finished bottom of the Premier League and had dropped into administration. But not only will we be playing in the Championship next season, we will also have the Champions League thanks to winning last year's Europa League. However, basically every single player wants to leave the club thanks to us getting relegated. So let's get to work. Okay guys, so we aren't going to start on the transfers page because there is an awful lot of business that has happened. Basically, the safe assumption is if any player that is at Manchester United right now in game, let's just assume they're not until I tell you otherwise. If we organise these transfers on the right hand side by value, you can see players like Bruno has gone, Anthony, Marcus Rashford, Lisandro Martinez, Onana, Pavlovic was here in this save, Skriniar was here in this save, Dalot, Luke Shaw, Hannibal, Harry Maguire, Casemiro. We can just keep going and going and going. There's a lot of players that have left. There's also some actually on this page as well if I go and have a look, like Jadon Sancho going to Arsenal, Aaron Wan-Bissaka going to Brentford. Like the carnage that has happened at this club since we've taken over has been absolutely awesome. So thank you to Steve for sending this save over because it's absolutely ridiculous. In terms of some of the incomings, we did have to make some signings because everybody wanted to leave. We are still Manchester United after all. We do still have a bit of reputation. Goncalo Ramos was already a pre-arranged transfer in the game, but you can see some of the signings that we have made. Rico Henry, Georgi Mamadashvili to play in goal, Marcus Edwards, Minter, Martinez, Lee Kang-in, Nathan Collins, Elias Jalert is in there, Wisdom Amy, João Pedro is a big one at 75 million because we did have so much money burning a hole in our pocket, but we did have to find players who were actually willing to drop into the Championship, which wasn't overly great. If we go and have a look at the tactic that we're going to run today, it's going to be GYR's Blade tactic. It is a 4-3-3. I will leave a link to it in the description, but this is what the team is looking like going into the season. So players that have stuck around, Kobbie Mainoo is here still, Mason Mount is here but currently has a bid for him. If we go and check that out, he is under a £48 million bid from Newcastle, so I would imagine he'll be going. Alejandro Garnacho is still here despite being wanted. Who is he wanted by? Just to update, by Bournemouth. And Rasmus Højlund is here but is wanted by Chelsea, Leicester, Tottenham, Dortmund, Frankfurt, Bayern Munich, Milan, Atletico Madrid and Barcelona. See, he might not be here for too much longer either. This is going to be our team going into the Championship. As you can see, it is basically a fresh squad. The familiarity not there on the tactic just yet, so hopefully we will get there. But if we go onto the competitions tab, this is just stupid. It genuinely is. Looking at this, we're in the Championship. We are expected to win it, of course, but we do have the Champions League. We've got the UEFA Super Cup. Obviously, we've got the Emirates FA Cup and the EFL Cup as well. We've already played in the European/South American Club Challenge, where we did lose in that one. Team was going through a little bit of a transition period there. It wasn't great. We didn't win. We lost 9-8 on penalties because, you know, FM's fun, isn't it? If we have a look at the Championship, if you want to see some ridiculous odds, the pre-season odds, if we look at them, we are 1-91 to get promoted. We are obviously the best team in the division, especially with some of the players that we still do have, but we need to get the job done. We need to be professional and get ourselves promoted. The only way that I see us being back in that Champions League next season is by winning it. There's no other way. There's no other route for us back into the Champions League. We have to win it. We could get into a Continental Cup if we won the EFL Cup or if we won the FA Cup, maybe, but it's going to be an interesting one nonetheless. Graham Potter, Crystal Palace manager, they are also in the Championship as well. Quinton Fortune is at Portsmouth and Benny McCarthy is at Sunderland in this one. We do avoid Steve's team. He was managing Wrexham. Now, unfortunately, he has been replaced in this one because I didn't want to manage two teams, but yeah, Wrexham in this save from him will be in the Premier League. So let's simulate season 1 with Manchester United in the Championship. As you'd expect in Season 1, the Championship was on lock with this squad, with results being a little bit silly to be honest. But what else would you expect with Manchester United in the Championship? No shock that we won the title with a record of 116 points, but we actually did lose 2 games this season, so shout out to both Sheffield United and Oxford United. But despite being in the Championship, we were still taking part in European competition and had the UEFA Super Cup at the start of the season where we took on Liverpool. Kobbie Mainoo gave us the lead in the second half in this one, but Liverpool's better squad took its toll on us as Darwin Núñez and Warren Zaire-Emery both scored in the second half to see Liverpool win the trophy. And in the Champions League, we had a great showing in the league phase, only losing once to AC Milan at the San Siro, and those results saw us finish in 4th place in the table and progress automatically into the round of 16. And it was Premier League opposition in our way here, as we would have to take on Tottenham. The first leg was in London and Spurs raced out into a 2-goal lead, but Rasmus Højlund scored our only shot on target late on to give us a lifeline in the tie. Then back at Old Trafford, he scored again to level the tie, making it 2-2 on aggregate. But extra time couldn't separate us, so we went to penalties where Spurs scored all 4 of their spot kicks, but Alejandro Garnacho and Joe Willock saw their penalties saved to see us crash out of the Champions League. Which means we won't be in the Champions League next season, but there was a path into the European competitions if we were to win the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup or something like that, and we were quite good in these domestic cup competitions. We progressed through the first few rounds of the EFL Cup before facing Chelsea in the semis over 2 legs. The first game was at Stamford Bridge and Goncalo Ramos scored early for us to give us the lead, but in second half injury time Nicholas Jackson squared up the tie. But back at Old Trafford, it was Chelsea who scored first as Christopher Nkunku fired home from the spot, but we scored a goal either side of half-time to win 2-1 on the night and secure a 3-2 aggregate win. It was Newcastle in the final and goals were flying in for both sides as Newcastle twice pegged us back after we took the lead. But then in the 92nd minute, Bastam Muapiu climbed the highest from a corner to head home and see us win the EFL Cup. And that domestic dominance didn't stop there. We had a pretty easy run in the FA Cup, beating Leeds and Hull after replays before dispatching Cardiff and Fulham to make it to the semi-finals at Wembley. Here we faced Crystal Palace, another team in our division, who put up very little resistance as we thumped them 6-0 on the day to advance to our second cup final of the season. Tottenham were the opposition this time, but come the end of the season, we looked like a completely different team as João Pedro scored a goal in each half to see us win our 3rd trophy of the season. And yeah, you heard that right. I'm calling this a treble with the championship title. I can't even keep a straight face while saying that. Over the summer, we have £70 million to spend on players and we are back in the Premier League. So let's get to work. So guys, we have been active in the transfer window as we return to the Premier League. You can see several players have left us. Minter has gone to Bayer Leverkusen, Nicholas Heidel has gone to Monaco, George Boateng has gone to West Ham, and Josep Martinez has also departed the club as well. So we made £55 million going into this window, and we kind of spent most of it on Joel Linton. Yeah, we needed a good couple of options. He was a really good price. He was unhappy at Newcastle. We bring him in for £50 million. We also picked up 3 free transfers as well, if you can take a look at some of these players. Bakwa comes in as a real electric player to play. 18 flair, good dribbling, good first touch, good acceleration and pace. You absolutely love to see that on the wing. We also picked up Tosin from Fulham. He was released after his contract had come to an end. 6'5", Nigerian/English centre-back. Good jump in reach. You absolutely love to see it. I think he can be a really good player if he is given the game time in this year's game. We also picked up this guy Alberto Flores to be a backup goalkeeper for us, because in FM24 you can never have too many of them. And then we finally signed our first new gen of this save, Santiago Pintos, coming in from Uruguay, Defensor Sporting. Again, high acceleration, high agility, really good natural fitness and flair and stuff like that. He again can be an interesting prospect for us on that right wing. It's where we're going to play him. There is no shot we are playing him at a wing back with 9 tackling. So if we go and take a look at the team, you can see obviously we did mention about Mason Mount. He has gone, so this is how the team is shaping up going into the season. It's actually a decent Premier League team. I wouldn't say it's an outstanding Premier League team, but Højlund is still here, João Pedro, Lee Kang-in, Kobbie Mainoo is obviously still here. We still do have players like Garnacho, Goncalo Ramos on the bench. We do have good players, but it's not quite title winning level, I wouldn't have said. If we go into the competitions tab, obviously we do return to the Premier League, and because of winning the FA Cup, we are also in the Europa League, which is great to see. We do have our defence of the Emirates FA Cup and the EFL Cup as well. I wanted to see how our team got on this year, and we've already played the Community Shield, where we beat Manchester City 3-1. 2 goals from Goncalo Ramos, 1 goal from João Pedro, and Julian Alvarez scoring in the 99th minute for Man City is pretty good. I'll take this as a return to the Premier League. Beating our rivals is always great, regardless of it. If you see this game as a friendly, it's still nice to win it, especially against Man City, and also potentially could be a tell of how the season's going to go. If we have a look at the season preview, we are actually predicted to finish in 7th on our return to the Prem. So that's going to be an interesting one. We want European football. We need European football as Manchester United. So let's see what we can do in season number 2. So after securing the Community Shield at the start of the season, the next piece of silverware was the EFL Cup, and I wanted to defend this trophy. We progressed through to the semi-finals again, whilst not even conceding a goal, and there was even a nice 3-0 win against Liverpool in there as well. Then, for a second season in a row, we faced Chelsea in the semis. But this year, we hammered Chelsea at the Bridge, racking up 4 goals without reply to effectively put 1 foot back into the final. That result allowed us to rotate in the second leg, which we ultimately lost 3-2, but still moved into that final with a 6-3 aggregate win. It was Arsenal in the final this year, and we took the lead as Goncalo Ramos fired past Ramsdale from close range. The Gunners then did pull themselves level on the hour mark, and that is how the game stayed to take the tie into extra time. But this is where substitute Rasmus Højlund guided the ball into the back of the net after a long-range strike to see us win back-to-back EFL Cups. So he successfully defended the EFL Cup, but unfortunately, the same couldn't be said for the FA Cup. We progressed through the first few rounds with wins against Yeovil Town, Blackpool and Luton, but then fell to a 3-2 extra time defeat to Newcastle at St James's Park at the quarter-final stages. However, the key goal for me this season was getting back into the Champions League, and in Season 3 we had a great start to the year, even getting wins against Liverpool and Tottenham. Our star man this season was former Brighton man João Pedro, who cooked for us, providing 18 goals along with 10 assists in the Premier League alone from just 34 appearances. And when you look at the player's stats tab, his face is all over it. Our impressive form continued in the second half of the season, but we weren't good enough to win the league as Manchester City were crowned champions yet again. But we were only 5 points behind them in 3rd in the table, but we do secure Champions League football for season number 3. And this year, we were in the Europa League, and I fancy my chances, especially after we won every single game in the league phase, to top the table with a perfect 24 points. We moved into the round of 16, where we faced Fenerbahce, and they provided little to no resistance, as we won 2-0 in Turkey before smashing them 6-0 at Old Trafford. So we marched into the quarter-finals, where we would face Spanish side Real Sociedad. However, much like the last round, there was little to no resistance here as well, as we won 3-0 in Spain before another huge win at Old Trafford, with us winning 5-0 on the night. It was German opposition in the semi-finals as we'd faced Mainz, and we were caught cold in the first leg in Germany as Mainz scored 2 first-half goals and we failed to even register a shot on target. But I was still confident of winning the tie at Old Trafford, and we did win on the night, winning the game 2-1. But a single goal from Mainz saw the German side advance to the final and leave us empty-handed. We achieved our goals this season and still added some silverware to that trophy cabinet, but I want a Premier League title. And over the summer, I have a war chest of £106 million to spend to get us there. So this was a massive transfer window for us, and we had so much business happening both in and out of the club. You can see already we have had lots of key outgoings in our team. Georgi Mamardashvili has gone over to join Barcelona for £88 million. Rasmus Højlund also joining Barcelona for an initial £83 million, which could rise to 105. Joel Linton had been here a season. We paid 50 for him from Newcastle. Al Ittihad thought we liked that. £69 million for him. Jalert's gone, Bakwa's gone, Popovic is gone, Joe Willock's gone, Tosin's gone after a free just after a season, sending him away. We're turning a good profit at this club, but we have been spending some money of our own as well. You can kind of see on the left-hand side of the screen the business that we have been doing. Key additions to the side this summer: Michael Coyote has come in from Fiorentina. Endrick is here from Real Madrid. We've also been out and spent some money on players like Lucas Bergvall as well. Washington is a new gen coming in from Brazil. He looks like he could be a real good player, very strong on both feet to play in central midfield at 6'2". Yes, please give me some of that. But you can see the kind of work that we're doing. The Wonderkid Finder filter has been out. I will leave a link to that video down in the description. But we are not only turning a profit with this team, I actually think we're kind of getting better as well. If we go into the tactic and have a look at things for the season and see how we're going to get on, this is our best 11 right now. So from the originals at Manchester United that are still here, we still do have Garnacho, we still do have Kobbie Mainoo, but everything else is basically fresh. Brady in goal, Coyote, Collins, Amy, Henry, Mainoo, Pintos, Castledene? João Pedro, Garnacho and Ramos. It's actually a really good team. I think this is probably the best team that we've had. I don't understand why Kobbie Mainoo is just a 2.5-star player. I've seen him look a lot better than that, and attribute spread wise he actually doesn't look that bad. He's valued at £45 million a year. £45 million. He does look like a really good player. I just don't understand why he's just listed as a 2.5-star player. I guess probably because he's actually not a DM. I guess he's probably more of a box-to-box midfielder. But alas, here we go. Competitions tab. We are back in the Champions League after finishing in 3rd in the Prem last season. And the board are expecting us to qualify for the Europa League via the league. So they're not seeing us as one of the best teams in the league just yet. If we look at the season preview, this is how we are set up. 25-1 to win that title. But there are some real good players in this league now. Musiala and Florian Wirtz are both at Liverpool. That could be a problem further down the line. Ruud van Nistelrooy has come in. He is manager of Wolves. Unai Emery is now the manager of Liverpool. Crazy things going on in this FM universe. Let's simulate season number 3 and see how we get on with Manchester United. See if we can close that gap at the top of the Prem. After back-to-back EFL Cups, our remarkable run finally came to an end in Season 3 as we suffered a penalty shootout defeat to Brentford in the 4th round, with Garnacho, Mainoo and Endrick all failing to score from the spot. But for a second time in 3 seasons, we did make it to the FA Cup final. We made light work of every opposition up until the semi-finals, where we had to face Manchester City at Wembley. This was a super tight game that was settled by Nathan Collins nodding home from a first half corner. And this season, in the final, we had to face another huge game against another rival in Liverpool. It was Liverpool who took the lead in this one as Warren Zaire-Emery scored a close range effort, with our goalkeeper thinking he probably could have done a bit better. But we didn't give up, and Goncalo Ramos made it all square before half-time as he was on hand to turn home a Garnacho cross. However, in the second half, Florian Wirtz let fly from long range and scored what turned out to be the decisive goal, with our goalkeeper yet again thinking he probably should have done a bit better. I guess it's nice to sign whoever you want and not get relegated to the Championship, eh? Season 3 saw our return to the Champions League, and we had a huge league phase, including wins against the likes of Real Madrid and Bayer Leverkusen. Those results saw us finish 2nd in the table behind Madrid with 18 points and move automatically into the round of 16. It was an all-English affair as we had to face Chelsea, and we would travel to Stamford Bridge for the first leg. There were limited shots in this game, but Lee Kang-in whipped a lovely long-range finesse shot into the back of the net to see us go back up north with a slender 1-goal lead. Back at Old Trafford, things were much more convincing as we scored 3 second-half goals without reply to move into the quarter-finals. But this is where we had a really tough ask as we had to face Kylian Mbappe and Real Madrid. The first leg was at the Bernabeu, and it was us who took the lead as Endrick bagged early against his former club. But Mbappe wasn't to be upstaged as he scored a goal of his own in each half before Tchouaméni made it 3-1 on the night. So we had an uphill battle in the second leg and goals were flying in for both sides, with us winning the game 3-2 on the night, but we couldn't find another goal to level it up on aggregate, meaning we exited the Champions League at the quarter-final stage. And finally, in the Premier League, we looked great to open the season, but did suffer a couple of silly losses on the road against the likes of West Ham and Southampton. Goncalo Ramos was our key man in front of goal as he bagged 21 goals in the Premier League alone, but is now wanted by Barcelona, so given how last summer went, he could well be off. After Christmas, we had another silly loss away to Bournemouth, but looked pretty good on our way to recording 24 wins in the season and a total of 79 points. But we couldn't improve on last season's 3rd place finish as Newcastle won their first top flight title since the 1920s. We are definitely closing that gap on the top of European football, but we still have some work to do, and we have an eye-watering £141 million to get busy with in this summer window. So diving into transfers for season number 4, and Gonçalo Ramos has departed us for Barcelona. I thought he might. £95 million he's gone for. And Alejandro Garnacho has also left the club as well. He's gone to Spurs for an initial £3 million, which could rise to 72. Lee Kang-in also gone for £30 million to Al Ittihad. So we made £181 million in transfers. Now you can see that there's nothing that you can't see on the left hand side, because we've been busy in the transfer market. We spent 200 million, but this is a thing that I didn't know was real in this year's game, to be perfectly honest. There's a mod in the game where you can have players' sons in here. We've signed Cristiano Ronaldo Jr. Age 19, he's coming from Tottenham, and he looks like the reincarnation of his father. He looks sensational. 19 years of age. He's already been capped by Portugal. He's on £275,000 a week. But look at him. Looking at his profile, guys, he's just absolutely ridiculous. He comes through the youth setup at Al Nassr, obviously where Ronaldo is. Moved from there to Spurs on a free transfer because Saudi. That's what happens in this year's game. He had 1 year at Tottenham, 9 goals, 4 assists in the Premier League. We went, yeah, we'll have a bit of that. We've got loads of money burning a hole in our pocket. So we spent £172 million on Cristiano Ronaldo's son. I didn't know this was the thing. Let me know down in the comments if you knew this was the thing, because I definitely didn't. In terms of some of the other players that we brought in Rav van der Berg there as a good option for us, playing in central midfield, can also play, at centre-back, can also play at right-back as well, 28 million from Leipzig. And we also signed another player from Al Nassr, Ruben Neves. He came in on a free transfer, again, because Saudi, they don't renew their players' contracts. So if we have a look at the tactic this season, and we quick pick without restriction our best 11, this is how we're set up, guys. We've got Cristiano Ronaldo Jr. leading the line. We've got João Pedro as well. This guy, one of our new gen signings that we have got from Chile. He looks sensational as well. Matias Aleguez, he looks, as I said, sensational. Good first touch, good dribbling. Look at those physicals as well. He's really cooking for us on that wing. But yeah, we're doing really well. Kobbie Mainoo in and out of the team with Ruben Neves as well. But we've got some really interesting options at this team now. I still can't get over we got Ronaldo's son. It's absolutely baffling to me. And also, I think if we go into our dev center, where is he? Or is he in my first team? Kai Rooney. It makes no sense to me. As I said, I didn't know that this was a thing. Did not know that this was a thing. If we go into the competitions tab, we've got the same 4 as last season. We got to the quarterfinals of the Champions League last year. I kind of want to push it a little bit beyond that if we possibly can. Back in the Premier League, the board still just want us to qualify for the Europa League. And if we have a look at the season preview, we are still predicted to finish down in 7th. As I said, some really interesting players and teams in this league. And apparently we are worse than Chelsea, Tottenham, Newcastle, Liverpool, Arsenal and Man City, according to the media. Let's go out there, simulate season number 4 and prove them wrong. But sadly, in season number 4, we saw our worst performance in all of the cup competitions that we've had to date. First up, we were dumped out of the EFL Cup by Newcastle after a 1-0 loss at Old Trafford. And then in the FA Cup, we suffered yet another defeat to Newcastle at Old Trafford, this time losing 3-5 whilst giving up only 6 shots at target. This is also happening to me a lot in my stream save, where I'm only giving up 1 or 2 opportunities and shots on target a game. But we are still conceding goals. Check it out. I'm doing a Pentagon challenge over on Twitch, twitch.tv/gaminguk. If you want to see me struggle in some of the weirdest leagues in the world, come over and check that out. Anyway, let's get back into United. In the Champions League, we had another decent but unspectacular season as we won 6 of our 8 games in the league phase to move automatically into the round of 16. In the knockout stages, we were drawn against French opposition as we had to face Rennes, and the first leg was in France. It was a tight game on the road, but Endrick bundled home the only goal of the game in the 8th minute. However, things back at home were a lot more simple as we ripped them apart, bagging 5 goals on the night to progress with a 6-1 win on aggregate. So we moved into the quarterfinals where we had to face Italian giants AC Milan. The first leg was at the San Siro and we really failed to impose ourselves on the game and suffered a 3-1 defeat, giving us a massive uphill task in that second leg. We had to go out and attack from the off and bagged a goal quickly through João Pedro on the half-hour mark, but Milan scored themselves just 6 minutes minutes later. Despite dominating the number of shots in the game, we couldn't get another, so we exited the Champions League at the quarter-final stage for a second season in a row. However, with the lower number of games in other cup competitions, could we actually improve on last season's third place finish in the Prem? We had a mixed start to the season, technically going unbeaten for 9 games, but having silly draws with the likes of Hull, Southampton, Brighton and Aston Villa. João Pedro was our main man for yet another season as he bagged 30 goals and provided 12 assists in 48 appearances this year. However, I know you're all interested in Cristiano Ronaldo Jr., who fired home 23 goals along with 9 assists in all competitions, and considering he's just 19 years old, you know he's only going to get better and better. As we moved into 2030, you can see from our schedule page how we did this season, as we rarely even conceded goals, let alone losing games. So it will come as no surprise as it was finally our year to top the Premier League table with 88 points, winning the title by 11 points. Despite being shocking in most of the club's cup competitions this year, we did get over the hump in the Premier League to secure the club's 21st top flight English title. I'm going to have one final push over the summer as I couldn't turn down the transfer budget of £191 million. This summer, we went big going into our 5th and final season, but we have managed to actually recoup a decent amount of money with some of the players that have left the club. Nathan Collins, we've now flipped him. He's gone to Al Hilal for £60 million. We also sold Ruben Neves over to Saudi for another 30. Basically, Saudi have funded our whole transfer window. Imagine my surprise. Rico Henry also going. Jack Grealish also going. Like, you can see some of these signings that we've managed to pull in and turn and flip for big money. On the incoming side of things, we signed Moises Caicedo from Chelsea for £130 million. We finally, in this game, much like in real life, got Lenny Yoro from Lille. £62 million he cost us there. But you can kind of see some of the other players that we've been out and signed. Beidou comes in as well, Austrian international. João Gomez, former, obviously, Wolves man, he comes into the team as well. Alexander Eriksson, you can see the wonder kid find a filter, doing absolute work here to play in defensive midfield. 17 technique, 16 passing on this guy. Looks absolutely outstanding. Glenn John from Derby as well to come in and play on that left-hand side. Another Welsh winger, or probably flying fullback on that side. It's good to see. We've also signed this Serbian lad. You can kind of see the kind of players that we are going for. This guy, Habib, looks absolutely sensational coming out of Egypt. He's only 18, 6'2", absolute monster of a centre-back or left-back for £11 million. Joe Gomez on a free. Sevi Helseth Naipan. When he's free, you sign him, guys. And we also signed Lewis Miley as well. So if we actually have a look at the squad, we're going to pin Michael Coyote in there because it keeps trying to pick him to play on the right wing. This is the team going into the season. We've got a nice mixture of new gens and real players in here as well. Yoro comes straight into the team, but the team is looking really, really good. Kobbie Mainoo's still that mainstay from the original team that we had. I think he's the only one now, which is mad to say, from when this team got relegated. We've got Ronaldo Jr. up front, of course. We've got a nice balance of those new gens, and this is, in my opinion, the best squad that we have had. We are really, really good this year. If we go and have a look at the competitions tab, we've got lots on offer. We do have the Community Shield where we will take on Newcastle, and the board are now finally wanting us to achieve that Champions League qualification. So if we have a look at the season preview, we are now predicted to finish in 4th. After winning the title last year, we are expected to get that Champions League football. I want to push a little bit more. I want to see if we can win the league again and maybe push towards a Champions League trophy, because that'll be a great end to this video. Let's get this season done, because this is the best team we've had in this save. And before we get into the results of season number 5, I want you guys to let me know down in the comments. I usually ask, if you are still watching the video right now, to leave me a comment or an emoji or something down below. Let me know how you think Manchester United are going to get on in this upcoming season. That's what I want to hear. I want to hear your predictions for how Ten Hag and Manchester United are going to get on. Leave them in the comments and I will go through and see what I think about them, because I'm very interested to see how you think they're going to get on this season. In season 5, we opened the year with the Community Shield, where we took on last season's FA Cup winners Newcastle, and the game was settled by our new gen Matthias Leguez ghosting in front of his marker to fire home inside the 6-yard box. So that was trophy number 1, and the second piece of silverware that's up for grabs in the season is the EFL Cup, and we demolished our way to a 3rd final in 5 seasons, where we had to face Newcastle yet again. Much like the Community Shield, it was a low scoring game, but this time it was our Brazilian Brazilian new gen Washington volleying home from inside the box. So at this point we were 2 for 2, but unfortunately we couldn't complete the set, as we were disappointing in the FA Cup, losing to Liverpool at Anfield in the 5th round. But in the Premier League we've definitely turned a corner to become a superpower once again. This season was a real coming-of-age year for Cristiano Ronaldo Jr., who was out and out our best player as he scored 39 goals along with 14 assists in 55 appearances this season. After losing to Liverpool in December, we hammered the league, going unbeaten to close out the season, which was a 20-game span. That run propelled us to our best finish in the league so far, gathering 93 points and winning the league for a second season in a row, this time by a huge 13 points. And in the Champions League, we did look impressive, but we did lose to both Real Madrid and Slavia Prague in that league phase. For a third season in a row, we moved automatically into the round of 16, where we came up against English opposition, and yeah, you guessed it, in the face of Newcastle. The first leg of this one was at St James's Park, and we opened up a 2-goal lead thanks to goals from Ronaldo Jr. and Kobbie Mainoo, but Newcastle pulled the game level on the night through Mason Mount and Alexander Isak. At Old Trafford, the goals were flying in, but we were always in control of this one as João Pedro put on a show, providing 2 assists alongside a goal of his own to see us win 5-2 on the night and 7-4 on aggregate. So we moved into the quarterfinals where we had to face Napoli, and again we had to travel for the first leg. I was expecting a rough time in Naples, but Cristiano Ronaldo Jr. took the game by the scruff of the neck, netting a brace in a 3-0 win. Then back in Manchester, we scored another 3 goals, with Victor Osimhen scoring nothing more than a consolation for Napoli. That made it the furthest that we've gone in this competition so far in this save, and we had to face who else but Real Madrid. The first leg was at Old Trafford, and this time we went off against Madrid, bagging 3 goals in each half to win the game 6-0, basically guaranteeing our progress through to the Champions League final. On the road, Madrid did clap back a bit, winning the game at the Bernabeu 3-1, but the damage was already done in the first leg as we moved forward with a 7-3 aggregate win. So we made it into the Champions League final where we had to face Italian opposition again, this time in the face of Juventus. And we started this one brilliantly as Lenny Yoro headed us in front in the 6th minute, but Juve retaliated instantly through Rooney Bargi. But then on the stroke of half-time, we were back in front again as New-Gen Laguez raced into the box before firing past the keeper. We continued to dominate the game in the second half, but it was Juventus who found the ball into the back of the net, this time through Kai Havertz. And it looked like we'd be going into extra time, but in the 96th minute, Gabri Veiga found some space in our penalty area and managed to fire the ball home to see us fall at the final hurdle with a massive sucker punch. But this still was our best season, and this is where I'm going to hand things over to you guys. I'm going to put both of these saves on my Patreon, where I started and where I finished. You guys can take over if you want to have United in the Championship and you want to see if you can do it your way. I will leave them both on my Patreon. Links to that will be in the description. It will also be in that top pinned comment. And if you guys want to see more rebuilds from me, check out this playlist. It's all of the rebuilds that we've done on this year's game.